I don't want to have to do all of this again. Oh my god. What is this? $6,300. Pride and Joy prototype. Holy shit. Like I say, everything's all well and good, but the fact that I have to defeat everything again to get back to this is horrible.
Here goes.
Right. Let's hit it with a big Thundaga and see how that does.
You jittery?
Yeah, didn't like that. I think for speed, let's go with Thundara.
Too bright?
Take it over. Keep it together.
All right, watch and learn.
Let's go for a cheeky bio. It's not going to work, but
I'll show you what I can do. Tagging out.
My turn.
let's go for the focus thrust.
Don't overdo it.
Guess it's my turn.
Yeah.
With these situations, I never know whether to go for it or not, or to just keep working on this. I'm going to keep doing this.
Give 'em hell.
Here goes.
It's been going well thus far. So I'm not going to change it for now.
You've got this.
Hang back.
Okay, more and more parts appearing now.
That wasn't nice.
Keep it together.
That wasn't nice.
Say nothing.
It's still homed in on me.
You can handle this.
My turn.
That wasn't nice.
It's doing some shit. I don't know what it's doing.
Fry.
Just properly caught it right now and just not having anything.
Deal with that.
Guess it's my turn.
That wasn't nice.
Okay.
I'm counting on you.
Just taking a little break.
Need my help, do you?
Back to good now.
Alright, not made a bad start so far, but obviously we've got to see what's still to come. Still early days.
Why don't you lead the way?
I got this.
Too bright?
Okay, Barrett took a lot of punishment there.
Don't overdo it.
You're up.
I'll show you what I can do.
Great.
Almost died. Quick.
Let's try
There we go. We're just about staying alive for now.
Take the lead.
Yeah, I'll do it. You
Just got endless moves. Nearly staggered though.
Hang back. It's on you.
Guess it's my turn.
Right, Barrett's got some HP, so I'm going to let him do it. Some MP, sorry.
Don't stop now.
Right, here we go.
Give him what's coming
I can help
to
too.
It's not a long stagger, unsurprisingly.
It's your turn now.
No.
No limit breaks, unfortunately.
This is now.
Well, reminds me a little bit of like a more mobile, well, bipedal
Give him hell.
I'll show you
Airbuster.
what I can do.
The left leg's down to about half,
You can do it.
so I'm wondering if it's worth attacking those legs. Did it skip leg day? Yeah, left leg's almost gone.
Together.
All right. Watch and learn.
But then it just instantly regenerates, so no.
So it's my turn?
It's incapacitated for now, but
How shocking.
if I can stagger her one more time, it's guaranteed to die.
Tagging out.
Hang back.
Ouch.
Yeah, I'll do it. Sorry.
I'm coming. Lend me your strength.
Right, I'm going to fire off this limit break.
Why don't you lead the way?
Not good.
I'll take it. Can you take over for me?
Right, he's back.
Buzz off.
I feel like if I can knock it down, I might be able to free Barrett, so it might be worth it. We've almost got the limit breaks as well.
Come on, you can do it. Can you take
My
over
turn.
for a bit?
Bam.
Nearly there. Come on now. Yes.
It's on you.
Alright, Barrett's back.
You got this.
We've got to get through this. You're still doing okay, right?
Okay, Aerith is in danger. Keep her in. Yes, okay.
This might be it.
Closing in here.
Take the lead.
Guess it's my turn.
Aerith in trouble again, for some reason.
I'll do what I can.
Thank you, Aerith. Right, let's go for a big assault on the main body.
Too bright?
Yes.
Just taking a little break.
Still no limit for Cloud. No MP left.
Overdo it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Time to get serious.
Oh yeah, I've been waiting for this.
Alright, here comes the limit. Can I finish it with this? Big boy Barrett! Do it! Yes. That is a fitting end. Woo! Pride and joy prototype.
That's over.
There we go, 34 minutes first time round. I was so worried that by the time I got like 20-30 minutes in I was going to die. Whew. Sheesh. Are we done? I think we're done. That's it, that's everything, my friends. Now, let me see what the hell that thing is that we got. Is it like...
Well done, Cloud. You've managed to fully tap into the potential once locked within you. Now that my research is at long last complete, I believe that it's time I told you the truth about myself.
He's an experiment too.
I'm not human. I'm a cyborg created to serve as Hojo's assistant. I was given knowledge and power beyond that of a human. But I was robbed of free will, bound to obey the whims of my master. But when we met, Cloud, I sensed something within you. Something I knew would allow me to break free of my chains. By identifying and studying a subject with infinite potential such as yourself, I could adhere to the directives imposed upon me, all the while pursuing my plans for independence in secret. Your combat data provided me with the vital information that I required to enhance my basic functionality. This is the result. Through my research and with your assistance, I have freed myself from Hojo's bondage.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
I cannot thank you enough for your help. You've given me the power to finally live life on my own terms.
So, what are you gonna do now?
I'm not sure. It's all a big, wonderful mystery.
Okay.
It's nice, not knowing something for a change.
Wow, okay, that was an unexpected little finale to that bit. So there we go. Chadley has been freed from the bound put on him by Hojo. So there we go. That is the end, my friends. I've got to the end of the playthrough. Wow. So I think overall it might have taken me about... has he disappeared or can I still talk to him?
A pleasure to see you again, Cloud. How can I be of service?
Okay, cool.
I sense a sudden surge of emotion in my future.
I feel like we'll be seeing Chadley again in the next game. Oh, not this again. I went to come in here to just do like a little round off, and these guys just keep spawning here. Bastards. Yeah, whatever. We'll have to take them out one last time. Just cannot get enough.
Show you what I can do. You're burning up. Why don't you lead the way?
Right. Okay. This time we have finished. So what was I going to do? I was going to check on whatever that thing was that I got. I feel like it must be a armor or something. It is not. Okay. There it is. Enter battle with a full limit break gauge. Limit break gauge gradually feels remote. Okay, nice. So there you go. That is the final thing that we have. There's probably some more items and equipment and stuff to collect, but I think I've probably got most of the good ones by doing the stuff that I have. Right. Play log. So let's have a look at this. 56 hours, so it's taken me about 13 hours or so after I completed the story to get this far. Battle Intel, Coliseum complete, Shinra complete, Odd Jobs, missing 4, that's the kind of thing you'd have to go back and run through all the chapters. Got all the enemy intel, assessed half of the enemies, weapon abilities earned 1924. Enemy skills, that was some bullshit anyway, there's only 4 of them. Manuscripts is where I'm really, really lacking. Like, I don't know why, but I would assume that most of it is just to do with having to run through the game from start to finish in hard mode. Cloud's dresses, Tifa's dresses, Aerith's dresses, Chapter 14, all of that stuff is literally just having to play through the game, probably not only once, but multiple times. So I think for those dresses, you might have to do certain things 3 times in order to get all 3 dresses. So the top half is the stuff that I was more interested in, and that's what I managed to do. So I'm pretty happy with that. It was a fun post-game. Honestly, I mean, post-game wise, it's definitely one of the better entries in the Final Fantasy series. I mean, there is a lot to do. Hard mode is looking fun. At first I was like, really? No items, you can't gain MP back and all that kind of stuff. But once you figure out a few tricks in order to be able to deal with that situation, then I do think the battles become quite fun. So I've been enjoying hard mode. And I think maybe before like the second game comes out, it might be a good time to go back and run through the game in hard mode before starting the second. So hard mode is definitely value added for the game. I definitely think that's good. In terms of the bosses that we fought, I think, yeah, it was good. I mean, I can't complain too much, but Pride and Joy, I mean, the fact that I could defeat it first time, it didn't seem right. I mean, it shouldn't have been that easy, I think. I mean, I expected a little bit more. So when I was speaking to people, they did say that, yeah, I mean, there's of course some difficult bosses, but I wouldn't say there's any like real super bosses. And I don't think I don't think I fought anything that I could say was a super boss here. So that's a shame, because I mean, this game took years to come out, and it's probably going to take another year or two. Well, not a year, probably more like 2 years for the next installment. People are going to be playing this game for a long time. So, I mean, even just adding a couple of like legit super bosses, I think would have definitely made an extra impact for players like me. But there you go. You can't have everything, and I'm not disappointed with the post game at all. It was good fun, but of course there could have been a little bit more, and a bit more in the super boss department. It would have been nice. But I think because they went for the boss rush kind of version of events, I think it made it harder to have a super boss, because if you spend like 20-30 minutes on a boss rush to get to the final one, and Pride and Joy has like triple the HP that it had and it's much harder, then I mean, people are just not going to do it. They're just going to get pissed off that they have to do all that every time. So yeah, I kind of get it, but I do wish it was they gave it a little bit more in that sense. So that's the deal. I mean, overall, it's still been a great time with this game. I mean, for me, it was like an 8.5, between like 8.5 and 9 out of 10 for me, this game. And I think having done everything like that I've wanted to do, I'm still like 8.7, 8.8, that sort of range. It's a really strong game. I think I do believe that. And of course, since in the post game, I've been dealing with literally just gameplay, bosses, and that kind of stuff. I've been away from the story. And of course, some people were wondering about what do I make of all of these like fan theories and all this kind of stuff. Briefly, I would say that my thoughts about that sort of stuff hasn't really changed too much. Not too different from what they were when I first got to the end of the game. In a nutshell, I think I would still say that the main story, the main blueprint, I still think is going to be the same. For me, it has to be the same. I read some interesting like discussions about, you know, they've called it a remake. That means that they should be able to change the story if they want. And for me personally, I don't agree with that. My opinion on this whole thing is that if you're calling a game Final Fantasy VII Remake, then you need to be remaking Final Fantasy VII. And to me, remake should be taking what you have from the original and translating it into the modern day in terms of its visuals, in terms of its technology, and all that kind of stuff. And that's literally what they've done. Up until the final moments, like the final couple of hours of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, that's exactly what they did, and I thought they did a spectacular job of it. I mean, really, really great. And for me, all I want is for them to just keep doing that. Like, you did it really, really well. We have a blueprint from a story of Final Fantasy VII. A lot of people love the story of Final Fantasy VII. I love the story of Final Fantasy VII. I think the characters are great. I think the story's great. It doesn't need changing. And it's Final Fantasy VII. It's an iconic game. And I think when it comes to the storyline stuff, it wasn't the kind of game where, you know, in my conversations and interactions with thousands and thousands of Final Fantasy fans over the years, people saying to me, you know, Final Fantasy VII's story sucked, it really needs improving, is not something that I heard too often. So, I mean, maybe if it was Final Fantasy 13 Remake, or Final Fantasy 15 Remake, like in 20 years' time, 30 years' time, then you could say maybe there's a little bit more scope to quote-unquote improve the story or change the story. But Final Fantasy VII, I mean, the story was good. It was good. Like, it was one of the better stories of the franchise. So don't change it. And of course, for me, if you're changing a story, like if you're genuinely going to give it a new story with new outcomes and like new situations and things play out really different to what you knew, then to me that's just a reboot. That's not a remake. So the best example off the top of my head is, of course, Tomb Raider. We have the 3 reboot games. They have different stories. It's the same character, it's set in the same world, but they have a different story and they're reboots. They didn't call it like a Tomb Raider remake or anything like that. It was just called Tomb Raider. They gave it a new name, and that was that. If this release was just called Final Fantasy VII, then maybe, and they marketed it as like a reimagining and like a reboot kind of thing, then sure. But if you're calling a game Final Fantasy VII Remake, then I feel like personally you need to stay within the guidelines of what the original story is. And to me, that's what a remake is. I mean, if you look at the gaming world, when you have a remake of a game, it's the same story. Like you have, I don't know, Shadow of the Colossus remake. You have even like games like Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. It's a remake. It's exactly the same cutscenes. It's the same story. You've got like Resident Evil remakes. I'm pretty sure they're the same story. So maybe you can add things, of course, like that wasn't in it before. You can expand on things that weren't there before, like they have in the game that you've just been watching. That's fine. But in terms of like the main core story, the thing that makes the Final Fantasy VII story what it is, and for that reason, I think when it's all said and done, and of course given what we've seen in the marketing and what Kitase himself has said about like the fact that one of the reasons the remake can't be a single game is that we wanted to have everything in the original game, and not only just have everything from the original, but kind of expand upon it and make it even better. And that to me is what it should be, and that's the track that they've been on. So when it comes to all of this, like, oh, there were the whispers, is there time travel, is there all these like, is there going to be major story changes and all this kind of stuff? I think probably Square Enix, they're being a little bit weird about it, like based on what I've seen. They keep throwing out like these little mini cryptic sounding kind of things that make people kind of rub their hands together at the prospect, ooh, maybe some of these wacky theories could be true and it could be like a really like different story coming up. To me, that most of that stuff just seems like a little bit of hype to get people talking, to keep the discussion about the game fresh, and to generate a little bit of license to actually change things. So when I say to actually change things, I don't mean like, for example, for me, like Aerith not dying in like, let's say, this new version of the story, to me that would be a catastrophe for the story. That shouldn't happen, and the story should play out in its core the same way that it always has, and I still think that that's what's going to happen. Will it play out in maybe a different way? So a good example I think is Wutai. They might integrate Wutai differently into the story like they did before, because we haven't seen it at all yet. And normally at the start of the second game, like narratively, that's when we should meet Yuffie, and that's when we had Wutai accessible as an area and stuff as well. So those kind of things, I don't mind them chopping and changing that, but like the core elements of the story, like, I don't know, maybe, oh, Zack's still alive and that sort of thing. To me, that's all like, that just can't happen, and it shouldn't happen. This is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Stick to the story, guys. If you really want to tell a new story, if you're that kind of hungry to tell a new story, just make a different game. Make a new Final Fantasy, or make another spin-off Final Fantasy game. Make a Final Fantasy VII Advent Children 2 or some shit, I don't know. Like, but if you're making a Final Fantasy VII Remake that people have waited for so long for, to be able to play the game that they know and love from the PS1 in all its modern day glory, and you've done such a wonderful job with it so far, just stick to the damn plan and just make a good remake, seriously. So that's how I feel about it. I mean, the theories, some of them are quite cool, but honestly, I think when it's all said and done, I don't think it's going to be like a wacky new story with Zack returning and things being really different and time travel and all this kind of shit. So that's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. We could play Remake Part 2 and it could be a wildly different story. For me, that's always going to be a problem, because no matter what, even if it is a radically different story and it's a really good radically different story, it's just going to be that I won't be able to stop myself saying, okay, great, I like this game, it was a great game, but I want to play the Final Fantasy VII Remake, man. I want that story. I want the 1997 story remade. And you called it the Final Fantasy VII Remake, man. Like, that's what we came here for. So it's going to be one of those really interesting situations, and my own personal desire is, of course, that yes, there could be some minor chopping and changing, and some things could be integrated differently, timings could be different, etc. New characters, new areas that we didn't know about, that kind of thing. That's all great, that's cool. But when it comes to the core story, the thing that makes the Final Fantasy VII story what it is, I really, really hope that it's not different, but only time will tell. Because I've been getting some slight mixed messages, but I have also seen things like Kitase's interview before the game came out, and like a quote from him from the Ultimania that was about like fans can expect the same story and that there's not going to be any radical changes. I believe more in that sort of thing and what we've seen so far than, you know, wacky theories and maybe one or two quotes that could allude to the fact that some things could be different, etc. So that's just my general feel about that kind of stuff, and we'll just have to see how it's going to go, man. When that remake part 2 information starts to drop, I'll of course try to cover that stuff on my channel because it's such an important title for so many people and for a lot of followers on the channel too. I'm right there with you guys. I'm going to be waiting patiently for more news, and we'll just have to see. I won't be returning to this game. I won't be returning to this game until part 2 is close, and I want to probably do another run of the game on hard mode to kind of warm myself up before that game drops. So thank you to everybody that's been watching. Sorry that I went on the hiatus, that I didn't have anything to upload for about 2 months or so, but it was like The Last of Us 2 madness. I did a lot of work for that. I was working a lot on the P. Birdman mod, and I had a little bit of a break for like family stuff and holiday and that kind of thing too. But it was nice to come back. I'm glad I did this. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this little post-game segment of the playlist, and I will see you guys for more Final Fantasy content soon. The next Final Fantasy content on the channel, other than the P. Birdman mod that's ongoing, is going to be Final Fantasy VI. So no exact date on when that's coming yet, but that is the next game that's going to be on the channel in terms of Final Fantasy. Really looking forward to playing it, and I hope you guys enjoy that one too. So see you soon. Thank you for all the support. Take care.